Hello friends, our operating system subject has Unit 4, CPU Scheduling and Algorithm for 14 marks. Today we will see Part 5 of it. These are the course outcome and unit outcome of Unit 4 and these are the contents of Unit 4. Today in this lecture we will see the topic deadlock. It consists of system models, necessary conditions leading to deadlock handling, prevention and avoidance. So let us see first what is deadlock. In our first unit, we learned that there is multi-user, multi-programming operating system. In that, multiple programs will be required to be stored into the main memory. And all that programs are executed simultaneously. Now, when we are performing multi-programming, multiple programs will be stored into the main memory and all that program will require the resources for completion of its execution. And the number of resources required for all that process will be varying and the time also be varying. A process will request the resource. If the resources are not available at that time, the process will enter into the waiting state. And sometimes it may happen that a waiting process is never again able to change the state because the resources it has requested are held by the other waiting process. That is, the one process is requesting any resource which is held by the other waiting process. This situation is called as the deadlock. System model. A process must request a resource before using it and must release the resource after using it. The process may request as many resources as it requires, but before using all that resources, it will request for all that resources. After getting that resources, it will use it and after that it will release that all resources. The number of resources requested may not exceed the total number of resources available in the system. Under the normal mode of operation, a process may use a resource on the following sequence. First step is request. The process requests the resource. If the request cannot be granted immediately, then the requesting process must wait until it has acquired the resource. Once it gets the resource, it will use it. So the second step is use. The process can operate with that resource. And as its use has been completed, the last step is release. Now, after use of that resource, the process will release that particular resource to the system. So, in this way, the system model includes three steps: request, use, and release. The next topic is necessary conditions for the occurrence of the deadlock. These are the four necessary conditions for the occurrence of the deadlock. Any one of these will be there in the system. We can say that there is deadlock in the system. The first necessary condition is mutual exclusion. At least one resource must be held in non-shareable mode. That is, only one process at a time can use that resource. Now, there are many non-shareable resources. For example, printer, which cannot be shared. So, if there is any such device, any such resource in the system, it may happen that more than one process is requesting for that printer operation. So, if one process is using the printer, at same time if other process also requests for the printer, the process will enter into the wait state. This may cause a deadlock. So, the mutual exclusion, if there is at least one resource which is in non-shareable mode, will lead to the deadlock. The next necessary condition is hold and wait. A process must be holding at least one resource and waiting to acquire additional resources which are held by the other process. Means there are multiple processes and suppose any one process will request for some resource which is held by some other process. Means the other process is performing the operation with that resource and this particular first process is holding some another resources and waiting to acquire the resource which is held by the other process. This situation will lead to deadlock. The third necessary condition is no preemption. The resources cannot be preempted. The resources cannot be preempted. That is, the resources can be released voluntarily by the processes holding it. Means, if any process is holding some resource, that resources cannot be preempted by the other process. The resources will be released by the process which is holding it voluntarily after its completion of use. Okay. So, the process will release the resources only voluntarily after completion of its task. So, the next necessary condition is circular wait. A set of processes, let us say P0, P1, P2, Pn, of the waiting processes must exist such that P0 is waiting for the resource that is held by P1. P1 is waiting for the resource which are held by P2. Pn minus 1 is waiting for the resource that is held by Pn and Pn is waiting for the resource that is held by P0. Means all the processes which are there in the system are waiting for the some resources which are held by the next process in a circular manner. So this will create a circular wait condition and will lead to the deadlock. So these are the four necessary conditions for the occurrence of the deadlock. If any one of these will be there, then system will enter into deadlock state. Now we will see what is resource allocation graph and how it helps to identify whether there is deadlock or not. The resource allocation graph consists of a set of vertices and set of edges denoted by V and E respectively. V is partitioned into two types, P and R. P is the set consisting of all the processes in the system and R is the set consisting of all the resources in the system. There are two types of edges, request edge and assignment edge. The directed edge from the P to R is the request edge, means that particular P1 process is requesting for the resource Rj. And directed edge from Rj to Pi means that the resource Rj is assigned to the process Pi. So, we can represent a process using circle. The resources are represented by square. Now here it is having four small square inside the big square. So that four small square means the four instances of that resource, means four processes can use that resource. Okay, so at a time. So the resource with four instances are represented in this way. So Pi requests the instance Rj. Instance of the Rj means this is the request for the resource from Pi to Rj. And Pi is holding an instance of Rj means this one of the instance of the resource Rj is assigned to the process Pi. So this is the representation. Now we will see one example of resource allocation graph. In this graph, there are 4 resources, resource R1, R2 with 2 instances, R3 with 1 instance and R4 with 3 instances. Okay, and 3 processes P1, P2 and P3. Now here P1, which is requesting for the resource R1 and is holding the resource 1 instance of resource R2. P2, which is requesting for the resource R3 and he is holding the resources R1 and 1 instance of R2. And P3, which is holding 1 instance of R3. Okay. Now, if this P3 has completed its work, it will release this resource which will be used by P2. This will complete its task, and the resource which is requested by P1 will be released to the P1 process, and P1 execution will be completed. So in this way, this particular graph will lead to the not lead to the deadlock. Okay, but if I will draw one line from P3 to R2, so this will create cycle like that: R2, P1, R1, P2 and again R2, and one more cycle is there: R2, P1, R1, P2, R3, P3 and R2. So this is also one of the cycle. So if such situation is there, we can say that there is cycle and this will lead to the deadlock, because here the process P3 cannot be completed as I have explained previous diagram. So P3 execution of P3 cannot be completed because it is waiting for the resource R2, and both the instance of R2 are used by process P1 and P2. So P3 cannot complete its task, so R3 resource cannot be released to the P2, and again the P2 will not release R1 resource to the P1. So in this way, this will lead to deadlock, means all the processes are waiting for the resources which are held by the other processes. Now, this is another example of the resource allocation graph, which will indicate that there is a cycle but will not lead to the deadlock. Now here is the P1. R1 is having 2 instances of the resource R1, 2 instances of resource R2, and the process P3 is there, P2 is there and P4 is there. Now here is cycle as R2, P1, R1 and P3. But still there is no deadlock because P4 process can complete its execution, so that instance of R2 can be assigned to P3, and it may happen that P2 will complete its execution and that instance of R1 can be assigned to P1. So the execution of all 4 processes can be completed and there will not be deadlock. So from this resource allocation graph, we can conclude that if the graph contains no cycle, there will not be deadlock. And if the graph contains a cycle, then and if only one instance per resource type, then the deadlock will be there. And if several instances per resource type, then possibility of deadlock. Okay. So thus the resource allocation graph help us to identify that there is deadlock or not. So we will see the methods of handling the deadlock. We can use the protocol to prevent or avoid the deadlock, ensuring that the system will never enter a deadlock state. Now the second method is allow the system to enter a deadlock state, detect it and then recover it. The third method is ignore the problem and pretend that there is no deadlock. So deadlock will never occur in the system. This particular strategy usually used by many of the operating systems currently, that ignore the problem and pretend that there is no deadlock. Okay, so we will see the two topics, that is the deadlock prevention and deadlock avoidance, which are helping us to avoid or prevent the deadlock. So deadlock prevention is what? It is the set of method for ensuring that at least one of the necessary condition cannot hold. So we have seen 4 necessary conditions for the occurrence of deadlock. The deadlock prevention takes care that no one of that necessary condition will occur. The next one is deadlock avoidance. It requires that the operating system is given in advance the additional information concerning which resources a process will request and use during its lifetime. With this additional knowledge, the process can decide for each request whether or not the process should wait or not. So in this way, it will avoiding the deadlock. So let us see first the deadlock prevention. So we know that there are four necessary conditions. Our aim is to that not to occur that any one of the necessary condition in the system, so that there will be deadlock prevention. So first necessary condition was mutual exclusion, that no device should be in non-shareable mode in the system. So mutual exclusion condition must hold for the non-share resources. So we cannot prevent the deadlock by denying the mutual exclusion condition, because some resources are intrinsically non-shareable. Means if we want that there should not be mutual exclusion, we should not put any non-shareable device in the system. But this cannot be possible. There are some devices which are non-shareable, like printer. We need to put them in the system. So the mutual exclusion can be prevented if there will not be any non-shareable device in the system. The next one is hold and wait. We must guarantee that whenever a process requests a resource, it does not hold any other resource. Okay. We must guarantee that whenever a process requests a resource, it should not hold any other resources. Okay. So this is the rule for the hold and wait. When it is requesting for some resource, it should not have any some other resources. Okay. So this will require the process to request and be allocated all its resources before beginning of the execution of that process. So before starting the execution, the process will request for all the resources and will acquire all the resources. Then only it will start its execution. And the second rule can be followed, that allow the process to request the resource only when the process has none. The process can request the resource only when it has none, so that this hold and wait will not occur. Let us say here one example, that the process is requiring the resources like printer for printing the output at the end, and it will require keyboard to get the user input, and CPU for processing, and memory to store the data. So it will acquire all these four resources before starting its execution. So for the execution, memory and processor will require, the keyboard will require to get the input. Okay, and at the end only the printer will require to get the output. But we will allocate all these resources from the very beginning of the process execution up to the end of execution. So all that four resources will be allocated to the process during the entire lifetime of the process. So this will lead to the low resource utilization, because we require the printer at the end, but we are allocating it from the very beginning of the process execution. So during that period, the printer will be allocated to the process and it will not be in use. So it will be idle. So this will lead to the low resource utilization, and also it will lead to the starvation, because if any process is not acquiring all the possible resources, then its execution will never begin. So always it has to wait. So this will lead to that starvation. So the next deadlock prevention is no preemption. So we want that there should not be no preemption. Uh, so if a process that is holding some resources requests another resource that cannot be immediately allocated to it, then all the resources currently being held are released. Means if any process will request for some resource, it will not get that. So what it will do, it will release whatever the acquired resources to it. Okay. So as it will release all its resources, the process execution will not be started. Okay. So All the preempted resources that the process has released voluntarily all will be added to the list of the free resources, and the process will enter into the waiting state. And this waiting process execution will only start when the process will get its previous resources as well as the new resources. Then only the execution of that process will be performed. So this is the solution for the no preemption. So that the process should not request any resource, and if it requests for that resource and it is not available, the process will voluntarily release all its acquired resources to the system, so that the system will not enter into the dead. The next condition is circular wait. We learn that all the processes are waiting for one another and creating the situation of circular wait. To impose this or to avoid this particular circular wait condition, we will give some numbering to the resources and we will define the rule that the resources will be requested only in increasing order of their number. So, if any process is requested some particular resource which is of number 5, so the same process cannot request the resource which is having the number 1 or 2, because it is not in increasing order. So this will not create the situation of circular wait. So in this way, in case of deadlock prevention, we can have some rule so that there should not be occurrence of any necessary condition and there will be prevention of deadlock. So disadvantage of deadlock prevention is low device utilization and reduced system throughput. So this is all about the deadlock prevention. In the next lecture, we will see what is the deadlock avoidance with Banker's algorithm. So thank you.